It's a conspiracy. They might look like you're the worst of all. Anybody, you, Nissan, you do it. So just take a look through the window there if you see anybody. Right? Who has dreidels? Anybody else? Take out there. All right. Okay, everybody. Good to be home. Sure, I see how many people over here watching. All right, let's get to work, Rabbi say. So we have a lot here. Yeah. If anybody asks, Rabbi Samuels is the Rosh Kollel. If anybody comes in and Rabbi Samuels is the Rosh Kollel. Whoever has the longest beard, here's the Rosh Kollel. Okay, so I was asked to maybe just go over a little bit of the Zachin that we spoke about yesterday. The truth is, I did go fast on it because it's really not Negei Hilchos Muksa, the shilas of carrying a child in Rishus Harabim or carrying anybody for that matter in Rishus Harabim. But the Ma'aseh, if it's here in the Shulchan Aruch, so then it's you have to live the blank club. And once we do it, let me explain. I'll see to just at least to give us some inyanim. That's let's go in order here. First of all, what came out yesterday is the halacha l'maaseh. It seems like if you would see somebody stroking a dog, if you would see somebody stroking an animal, you can't make a macha. I'm not saying that this is religious behavior and this is what a person should do, but it does seem to be that if you would see somebody stroking a dog, not petting, but certainly if you see someone stroking a dog, you certainly wouldn't have to make a macha. Number one, it's not so clear the whole entire isser of a pet, even though we paskin that a pet is muksa. Number two is that the hair on an animal, the hair in general, which as it's sad to say, with its archid, is not sure, is that perhaps the hair is not considered the entity of the animal itself. And the lumdus being, like we explained, anything that when you stroke it, it goes right back to its place. So then that would be the same type of idea like we spoke about with grass. Everything here is debatable because first of all, we came out that you can't be miyachid pets, and we came out that maybe the hair that Mishnah Berurah is talking about was a separate entity, like a horse hair. We said he's talking about the hair, which is considered mamish the actual chetz of the goof of the behema. It's not so clear in the Mishnah Berurah. If you see somebody stroking an animal, so then maybe you don't have to say anything. If you see your own children, so then of course, if you don't tell them when they're young, you don't have to scream at them, but if you don't tell them when they're young, they become adults to think that you're allowed to stroke animals in Shabbos, and it certainly is not. It's certainly not the right thing. So that's legabe stroking a pet. If a person wants to stroke a seeing eye dog, sometimes you have that person, the fellow is blind in shul, and he brings in the dog, and the kids all stroke it. So okay, now there's another svara to be made. We don't understand why, but there definitely are poskim that say that a seeing eye dog is not muksa. I don't fully understand it, but the vazei vayit, it's actually a very negay case. The case I'm saying, anybody who has a blind person or whatever, so then his dog is going to be very accessible. And I might say any person that has in that matzav, if there's a family member or something, so then usually the kids are going to be stroking the dog. So then you have to know that number one, the hair is not so pashut that there's an isser, and number two, it's not so pashut that it's muksa. So to stroke it, you can't say it's mamashas. I wouldn't suggest it because, like I said, that if you let a kid stroke the dog, so then he's going to stroke every dog, and who needs stamazar during the week? Who needs him to do that, right? I saw Merdik Kazakh today. I parked my car over there, and when I was coming out, so it was raining like those. Now it's still raining a little bit, right? So there was somebody there who was taking a walk with the dog, a pelvic maisa, and he was holding the umbrella over the dog. Right? I wish one of you guys were walking by and then I could have told you to take one of the picture. You guys always carry a camera wherever you go. And it would have been mamish murdik. It was an unbelievable sight. He was walking like that. I saw it. He was walking. So I at first I thought to myself, like, this is, you saw it? What? No, he wasn't holding it himself. He was holding it over the dog. It was pelvic maisa, right? Not pelvic mamish. It was so tailor made for us that it was unbelievable. But then at first I thought, like, wow, this is what the world has come to. That's what the world has come to, and then I realized it's mamish, it's such a toyas. It's a meritic hashkafa what this yid has. It's mamish meritic hashkafa. He understands what the Medrash says, what we saw yesterday, that some people, they get the schus, the Rebbeinu Shalom gives them the schus of themselves, that he gives them the sunshine and the rain and the parnasa and everything in the world. And some people, it's not for the people, it's for the dog. It's for the animals. So this person has a hakara that for him, it's not a schus. It's not a schus. So the whole schus of everything is b'schus fido or last year, whatever hey stuff. And so that's why he's so good to the dog. But I don't know if that's such a proper shkafah. Somebody sent me an interesting email. He was listening to the shir, and he said like this. He said that he was in a modern camp. He seems to be a Rabbi in a modern camp, and that's what he said. And he said the most dreadful thing that he ever saw, it's not dreadful, but the most dreadful thing he ever saw was, he said, on visiting day, he remembers this like vividly. There was a child whose parents came up, and the parents came with the dog. That's like, mom, dad, and the dog. And the kid ran right for the dog. Even, his parents, that gave birth to him, that paid for the camp. These camps probably cost even like 2,000 or 3,000 shekel. It's not much expensive. Even more, well, like 5,000 shekel. And there he is, and he runs for the dog to give the dog a hug and a kiss. That's terrible. So that's why in general, and the chalal we saw, Kelev Ra b'toich Beisai, and all this is totally not the Hashkafas Hashem. But again, if you see somebody stroking a dog, you don't have to say something. Patting a dog is a little bit more aggressive, because then you're getting involved in moving something that goes back. The body goes back, so it's only a tiltal b'mixus. Tiltal b'mixus is a big shaila. We saw one star tiltal b'mixus is mutter if it just goes back to its place. That's one star we saw, but we saw that by grass, and maybe that's why, because it's mechuber. Who said that's true by a dog? By a mace, it's true. You're allowed to wash around the mace, but that's maybe for covered up rias and covered up mace. The going learns. So to pet a dog is much worse. But again, but if you see somebody actually picking up a dog, that's in a sigamer. That's in a sigamer. But that's klape what we saw yesterday. That's number one. Sorry. So that won't bother us. There's a different sugya if he's doing a malacha. Like if he's going to be carrying something, you put something on the dog or something, that's macham. It's time to tell the dog to go there, so that won't be a problem. That's number one. Number two is that so I spoke yesterday about these. You'll have to be meichel me. My notes are not mamish in order. I wrote some things here down after the shir. I didn't plan on speaking about this, and then somebody asked me a few that I asked me if I'll chazir. So it might be a little bit out of order, but it's all there. It's all there. One likud is that let's start like this. There's a mission. One thing I might repeat. I'm sure you'll be okay with it, but it's somewhat out of order here. The Mishabura in Siman Shin Hey in Sif Ayin, Mishabura brings down like this. Mishabura brings kol balei chayim amoksa, like you said, all animals are moksa, and even for tzar balei chayim it's aser. You're not allowed to move animals, even b'talei chayim. Derech agav, I'm going to be learning these sugyas now with the oilam today, maybe tomorrow, and the oilam are ready to start shin test. These sugyas is something that the oilam maybe can see quickly themselves in Mishabura at the end of shin test. But start going to buses. That's where you need a background. I'm giving you like a day, in order that I should, be able to come in, that you learned a little bit of the Mamkaim should be on Shin test. Also, the item has to finish the test. But that's why I'm going to go a little bit more to read the stuff inside, and not everybody saw it. So Mishabura says like this in Shin Hey Sif Kat and Ayin. So Mishabura says Kol Balei Chayim and Muksa, and every Bal Chai is Muksa, and even if it's Sar Balei Chayim, so Mishabura goes on. He says, look, if you have a guy and you want to tell a guy to move an animal to prevent him from having Sar Balei Chayim, that's beseder. As I said, to tell a guy to move an animal, that's already nishkefelach, because that's already amir la'akom, b'makom uksa, no, b'makom sabachayim. That doesn't bother the Mishabura. But the Mishabura says, but you yourself, to help this animal in sabachayim, because we saw yesterday about pushing a chicken, remember, and we saw about picking him up by his neck, or not the chicken we saw, because then he jumps, you mind up carrying him. But if you have an animal, you're allowed to direct him. What's the shot? You're allowed to direct him because you're not really moving muktzah. That's what's called the tiltal b'mixas. Tiltal b'mixas, the Mishabura said in Kufnan Aleph, was mutter b'mokim tzar balei chayim. That was what Mishabura told us. Maybe I'll go over this in a minute, but that's what we saw. If you push a chicken, what's pushing a chicken? You're not really moving muktzah. He's going to walk on his own. You're not pushing a chicken and pushing him over. He's going to walk. So what's that called? So the Prima Garden calls that like a tiltal b'mixas. It's like a shvaka tiltal, which there are kulas for this shvaka tiltal. Maybe tiltal b'mixas is mutter b'makim hefsid, maybe b'makim tzar balechayim. But in general, tiltal muktzas, this which the Bruce says is not mutter b'makim tzar balechayim. So if you have an animal and he's suffering, you're not going to, not enough to be missed, is that you have a fish and he jumped out of the tank. A fish jumped out of the tank. So there he is. He's definitely suffering. You see him. He's flapping up and down. Right? Imagine you would take a Martian, and he would come and he would. Martian it's not real, but let's say it'd be somebody who never saw any. You see him. He would tell him, look, and who's alive? He sees the fish, floating around. Just floating around. Still, hey, right? And then there's another one, and he's out of the water, and he's flapping up and down, and the feet are moving, and the fins are flowing, and everything, right? And he asked the Martian, who's alive and who's tight? The Martian said, that one, look, it's mamash lebedik, geshmak, it's up and down. Right? That's what Chazal say. That's what the yid is when he's out of water. It's like a fish out of water. What's the pshat? He looks like he's alive. They look like, they're dancing, they're doing another thing, right? He looks like he's alive, but what's really going on? He's not alive. He's just a slowly dead. Right? Mashen came, the fish in the water, the one that's learned in the base medrash. So he looks like he's all, all quiet and everything. But we know the animals. We know them. So anyways, so here's this poor fish. He's about to die. He's hopping away and flapping up and down. So you're allowed to pick him up and throw him back in the water. You're allowed to save his life. You're allowed to save his life. So the muksa, the makam sar bali chaim. So Mishabur over here says muksa tzar bali chaim, no heter. You have to let him die. He says, we find certain times we are mekel. He says, ein ladama is tigzeres of chachamim. Then he says, v'ayin el yerabah, that brings paiskim, that are mekel even to halois biyadayim and to yes help them out if there's no other brera. And ayidei goy, you could certainly be mekel, and that's much better. So the Mishabur already he gives us a little bit that there's like a glimpse of hope for this fish. It gives a glimpse of hope because there's an El Yerabah. It sounds like from the Mishabur he's not happy, right? He says, don't do it. Then he says, you could look in the El Yerabah. He wants you to know there's an El Yerabah that is mekel b'makim sar balechayim. And then he says, so do it ayidei goy. It doesn't sound very, doesn't sound very friendly in the Mishabur. The Chazan Ish and the Balatanya in the 85th Sif Katan, they're mekel. They want to be mekel. It's a big chiddush. They want to say if it's a hefsid plus a tzar balechayim, the hefsid means like a proper hefsid. So a hefsid plus tzar balechayim, the makim muksa, there's a makim to be mekel. What's the nafkamina? Nafkamina is if one fish flies out. It depends how much these fish cost, right? If it's a little small herring or something, nothing so major. So a little one flies out. So then no, we'll only have to have sabbath l'chaim, not the place Gemara make one. But let's say somebody wants to ask the shayla, he asked the shayla too late. He asked the shayla Motzei Shabbos. It was too late. So he wanted to know what he would have done. He said on Shabbos they have this unbelievable fish tank, right? And he said, and it cracked. It cracked. And he said he's watching all of them. They're mamish, they're flowing out, and they're all one by one flowing to their death. They're all going by one, going to their death. So he said to me, there they were, all these dead fish. It looked like fragments. It looked like harmanuchas. He had like 20 dead fish on the floor over there. Right? So he said, well, would he have been allowed to like quickly just take them and throw them into water and pick them up? So l'chayr, that would be, the way he described it, would probably be a hefsid, a lot of fish. I'm saying, I don't think it's like 20 goldfish. It sounded like, the geshmaka ones, like salmon, carp, and whatever. So it's, no, what are you laughing? It's a serious thing, right? And the rainbow trout, it's a serious thing. So the kids are, it's a mistama, that would be a hefsid plus a tzar balechayim. So then you'd be able to be mekel. But first of all, tiltum minat sad l'tzarech hadavar aser, it's also aser, right? You didn't really gain much, even if you do it ayidei a net. I imagine, anyways, you probably have to do it with something else. But that's tiltum minat sad l'tzarech what? L'tzarech davar aser, l'tzarech the fish's life, right? It's interesting who would ask such a question, but like I don't know if you can get the armpit or the mouth into the fish. I know it's so maybe. What? Yeah, so there's another hefted. That I was thinking also. This was the Ma'aser Shai. I was thinking, 20 dead fish on the floor is also you're preventing a graph. Right? You're preventing it from turning into a graph. It's going to be pretty feral after a while, right? Sorry? He told me what? Not really? 20 dead fish on the floor? Wait, one second. Wait, pardon me. 1 second, tough guy. If there were, no, 1 second. If there would be a dead fish on right over there, right there on the floor, right? Yeah, what would happen to you? Right? Your hair would stand up like a strimo. What are you talking about? If there'd be one little small goldfish, right? 20 of them? One of them, like a whale and jaws and the whole chevra, what? Sorry? Forget the smell. Not everything. No. Graph doesn't have to smell. Graph is, even if it doesn't smell, graph is the etzim. So there's a dead fish over there. That's not so geshmak. Right? What's going on over there? What? Yeah, it's pretty bad. Right? When they're in the water going around, everyone's okay, right? But the second they're on the floor, fish on the water. No, you could eat it. Anyways, yeah, no, yummy. Yummy. Yeah, no, I'm assuming that the fish we're talking about are not edible. Otherwise, yeah, no, for sure. Then yummy. What's the for sure? Okay. You mean no, wait. No, but Verstand is right. Maybe it's a migu diskatsoy. Because when Shabbos came in, it wasn't oimid for that. You mean? What was it oimid for? It's oimid like it's like. I don't know. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. What? Sorry. Yeah, but we have to down on migu diskatsoy. If something was books as when Shabbos came in, it might be books as all Shabbos. And I'm not sure. I have to think of it. Grada, don't forget, there's another side. There's a side that we saw. Rabbi said, remember I said it's sad that maybe fish in general are not muksa. We had a side that fish aren't muksa because maybe there's no like plug on a fish. It's only on animals, the chadaina, maybe even birds, but maybe on fish. There's no like I'm not convinced about that. But for say vite that when it to be a pet, and now he jumps out, so maybe you put all this together, maybe it won't be muksa. The Shmir Shabbos in the 27th parak, in the 179th ois, he brings down there that let's say you have like who has a fish tank? Anybody have a fish tank? No, yeah, ever? Well, yeah, okay. So and they're all okay after Corona. Yeah. So now they apparently the Matthias says that sometimes the big fish eat the little fish. You know about this, right? You know what I'm talking about or no? Sorry, one fish left. Very good. So apparently the Zman is that the big Shlomo Zalman Dan's on Shabbos. Let's say you see him this big fish, and he's got like a fork and he's got a knife and he's putting on like an apron and he's looking at the little guy. You know what I'm talking about. He's looking at the little guy and this poor helpless fish. So Shlomo Zalman Dan's, if that would be called, and let's say it's expensive also. So Shlomo Zalman Dan's, is that called Sar Bali Chaim with hefsek? And then you'd be allowed to save his life. You want to like scoop him up and put him into like the toilet bowl or something. What? No, say that, but they have to tilt him in outside. Tilt him outside. So Shlomo Zalman says, Rabbi said, Shlomo Zalman says you're not allowed to save the fish. You're not allowed. He says kach is the derech ha'olim. That's not called sar b'lechayim. That's what goes on in the jungle, right? That's what goes on in the hood. That's how it goes. You know, you have one fish, big fish, eats little fish. That's how it goes. So Meli says there's no heter. That's no heter of tzar b'lechayim. Sorry? Okay, that's the chayr. Again, yesh ladin that yesh ladin in general. When you have that fish that jumped out, like I said before, I had a different side. Maybe okay. What happens? If you have like this. Everybody say. I had another shadow. Let's say sometimes you have in the fish tank, you have a dead fish. Everybody say it's when you stop 3 times, it's a chazaka. You don't make a chazaka. But you have like this. Let's say you have a dead fish in the fish tank. You have a dead fish, and that apparently, you should know this. It's probably this is gefährlich mamish, right? He's not floating. He's like on the side like that, right? And now it's also there's a problem because it's going to cause the other fish to die. Apparently, they can't bear it. They get so much agus nefesh that they die from the fumes and from the agus nefesh and whatever. 4 of them died when they saw him dead. Right? They lost their cheshik to live. Right? They saw him dead. That's how it goes. Why are you laughing? It's very simple. You saw this happen, right? And so they all died. So now are you allowed to take out the dead fish? That's for sure, muksa, right? The dead little goldfish over there. So you got to take out the dead goldfish in order to save the other guys. So that sounds pretty bad because even if you do tiltul min atzad, l'chayra it's a tzarech davrasa, right? Right? I mean, what are you talking about? Like, if you're going to scoop it out or something, to mamish scoop it out. So that might be like a basis. I was thinking, could you take a knife and like whack him out? So what's that? That's tiltul min atzad. Let's assume that it's not boyer because it's enough clear, distinct. That's a shayla, but let's assume. No, to take a spoon, I have a problem. That's like a mamish, that's like a basis kiman. It's not a tiltul min atzad. So are you allowed to could you whack him out? Just take like a fly swatter and just like whack him out of there, right? Whack him out of there. What do you think? What? Wait, slow. You have your question. Let me ask mine first. You take a fly swatter and you whack him out of there. So that'll be, let's try and figure this out. That'll be tiltul min atzad. It's tzarech what? Not the mokim. It's a tzarech for the isser. It's a tzarech for the fish, right? No, I understand, but it's a tzarech of what? So I was thinking it's a tiltal minat sad. So I was thinking it's tiltal minat sad. Let's soyrech a davar mutter. What's a davar mutter? Tsar b'lechay. If the other ones are going to die, this is a mitzvah apparently that they all die from the fumes and whatever. So maybe it's tiltal minat sad. We said tsar b'lechay you can't be meko on, right? Because you need either to do amir lakum, whatever. But tiltal minat sad, you can be meko, maybe tiltal minat sad, tsar b'lechay. That's what I was thinking. So if that's negaya for I mean, it's only one left, right? But so, it doesn't look like it's negay. Now, that's the, sorry? That's not tzarech makom, it's tzarech of isser. Tzarech makom has to be a tzarech shel heter, right? That's not that called makom. Tzarech makom means I need that makom. It's ruining the makom. If it's ruining the makom for a davar isser, so then that's kli shemach for yisser or whatever. Tzarech of the isser. That's no good. What? Sorry? Come again? So I said it's not clear if fish themselves are muksa. I'm going on the tzad that fish themselves are muksa. There could be a tzad fish aren't muksa, then you're right. And it's tiltum minat tzad tzarech the dvarim hamutarim, right? But assuming that fish are muksa, which is a shayla, no one can take a chayis to know if fish are muksa. Shlomo is going that fish are muksa. On the tzad they're muksa. I'm saying a kula that you won't be allowed to scoop them out with your spoon or like a ladle or something, right? But you can take like whatever, you can take like a hockey stick and whack them up. What? Tilting is a problem because it's a buses. The water and everything is a buses. So you're moving the books, right? But that itself is muksa. Now, what? I'll answer one or two more questions, but I want to go back. It's not really so much a sukkah, but yeah. What? Again, when you're taking it and carrying it, that's a problem of holding the muksa. And that water is bottled to the fish. Therefore, that would be a buses because it's there. Because as it's been a shmashit, it was being mishamish the fish, which possibly are muksa. Sorry. Yeah, it depends. I'm saying, what do you mean? If it's kosher? That's not nice. What was that?
Some people have saltwater things to use fish, it's pointed out.
And the goldfish aren't people too? What's wrong with fish? Huh? That was very insensitive. I don't know why. No, I'm saying, but klape these halachas, I don't see. It might, the nafkamina might be that it might only be a nafkamina klape hefsed meruba. Obviously, if it's not a goldfish and it's a very expensive $200 fish or something like that, so then yes, kanira, you feel it's more important, right? So then that would be considered hefsed meruba. But that's only going to help you to establish if something's a hefsed meruba. So don't worry, I'm not being serious. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it could be. I was thinking that also that maybe if all the fish are going to die, so it's going to be like a battlefield over here. So maybe it's tiltul minat tzad, the tzarech to prevent the grav shalvei. All these things goes into why I would be mekom. Now, basically, a few things. This is an interesting halacha. I would venture to say most people don't know what I'm about to say now. So you can be considered the privileged few. I'll tell you why most people don't know it. I mean, it's not a kasha, you'll see in a minute. But I'm saying why people wouldn't even realize this. I think it's, you can impress your friends and family with this piece of information. Yontif is right again. If you're on Yontif, chickens and cows and goats and lamb and buffalo and all these things, all these farm animals and all these things, they're not muksa. Don't get excited. You might have a problem. One minute, Rabbi Moyo, you might have a problem. 1 minute. I'm getting to you in a minute. Everybody else in this room, almost everybody else in this room, almost everybody else in this room, right? Okay, many of the people in this room, it's true what I just said. What do I mean? So kipshutai, chickens and cows and goats and sheep and all these guys, you're allowed to shech them on yontif. So therefore the chayr they're not muksa. Elamai. The Murdik and Mishabura. The Shulchan Aruch in Siman Top Tzadi Hey. I don't have it here, so I'll just say it palpeh. The Shulchan Aruch in Top Tzadi Hey. Somebody asked during the shir yesterday. He sent down a little message about what about yontif. It's a very important question, Taka. The Shulchan Aruch in Siman Top Tzadi Hey says that on yontif we paskin muksa. So I mentioned this on day one that the way the Ashkenazim take on is a big fight. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, all over Shas. All of the shots, we paskin not like Rabbi Yehuda, we paskin like Rabbi Shimon, which means, ironically, after 70 shurim of Hilchos Muksa, we paskin there's no such thing as Muksa. That's what we paskin. So the Muksas we've been talking about are universal Muksas and unanimous Muksas. But the Muksa of Shas was something that's set aside and not planned on being used. That's the Muksa in Shas. Okay, I set something aside, I didn't plan on using it. That's the muktzah in Shas. Rabbi Yehuda holds that's muktzah. I have an oitzer, a storehouse where I store, maybe I don't know, cans of Coke or something, and I don't plan on ever using them now. Rabbi Yehuda would say that's muktzah. It's a storehouse. Rabbi Shimon said that's not muktzah. That's not muktzah. Muktzah is only things like we've been discussing for the last 70 working days of it. That's the machlekes Rabbi Yehuda Shimon. Comes again to Shulchan Aruch. He says on Yontif, because Yontif people are going to be more lax, because Yontif is a bit more kuladik, so we're more machmer on Yontif, and we're machmer like Rabbi Yehuda. Now, we take on, Ashkenazim take on, that's what Ramah says there, it's only by noilad. And I've mentioned this in this room many times. What do I mean it's only by noilad? You have bones and you have chicken. When you take the chicken off the bones, so then it doesn't help me that there's animals living in the shtat. It doesn't. That's why it's very important to remember a lot of the halachas we saw, at least on Yontif, of a shore problem, right? We kept saying maybe there's animals and whatever. That doesn't help you on Yontif. On Yontif, the chicken was a chicken, the bones was created, and that's called noilad. So the Ramah says, we're machmer on noilad on Yontif. The Shulchan Aruch, says the Mishnah Berurah, was more aggressive. The Shulchan Aruch said, we're machmer like Rabbi Yehuda on Yontif. Listen closely. What does it mean we're machmer like Rabbi Yehuda? So the Mishnah Berurah's example is this. He says, therefore, if you have a cow, which is oimid v'charisha, it's not oimid to eat, even though it's edible, right? But it's not oimid to eat. He says that's called muksa. He says, the Mishnah Berurah, that's a machlekes between the Ramah and the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch, on Shabbos, obviously a cow is muksa because you can't check it. On Yontif, says the Svardim, says the Shulchan Aruch, a cow, if it's oimid to shech, so then it's not muksa. Don't get excited. If it's oimid to shech, then it's not muksa. If it's oimid to, because you can shech it. If it's oimid to for chavisha, let's say you have a chicken and he's a workhorse, or whatever. So then it's not oimid to be eaten. It's not to eat. It's not oimid to be a schnitzel. So then that's a machlekes Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda would say it's set aside to not be used, and that is enough. That's enough to be muksa. And Rabbi Shimon would say no, that's not enough to be muksa. Says the Mishnah Berurah, so it's a machlekes Ramah and the Shulchan Aruch. According to the Shulchan Aruch, a chicken that wasn't oimid to be eaten, a farm animal that wasn't oimid to be shechted, he's a chayrish, he works, he has a job, right? So then on Yontif, Shulchan Aruch holds he's taka muksa. Because as of when Yontif came in, you didn't plan on eating him. Then all of a sudden you come to the Yontif meal, you say, give out, we need a steak. So now you want to go and shech him? Says the Mishnah Berurah, al das tisvardim muksa. Masha'en king the Ramah? Yes, no, we don't hold like Rabbi Yehuda on all muksas. The only muksa that we hold, Rabbi Yehuda is by noy. Okay? And therefore, if you have a cow which is oimid for charisha, according to the Mishnah Berurah, and the Ashkenazim, even if it's oimid for charisha, so then it's not going to be muksa. So now, today, we don't shecht on Yontif. Nobody shechts on Yontif. We haven't shechted on Yontif in hundreds of years because the reason we don't shecht on Yontif is simply because, not just because, it's just, it's a pretty big hasik to shecht, whatever, but it's more than that. The chat is that 40, 50, 60% of our animals come out straight because of our chumras and because of our whatever. So Mela, we're going to go and start shechting on Yontif and doing bedikas. It's going to come out that we shechted for no reason. The kids said nobody ever here heard of shechting on Yontif. But it's mutter. It's mutter. So the minig is not to, right? So now yesh ladin for the svardim, evil chumrah, right? The svardim, no animal is oimid to be geshachtin on Yontif ever, right? No bird, no animal, no buffalo is never oimid to be shechted on Yontif. So it could be for the svardim, all animals were made muksa, right? Mashenka for the Ashkenazim, I don't care. We don't care even if it's oimid for chavisha. But who cares? Mitzad it's chefta, it's not muksa. So that's a very nice idea. If you're an Ashkenazi, you have to know this. At Yontif, you can go over, you can impress your friends and family, right? There you are on a farm on Yontif, and you can go over to the cow and you could play with his ears and everything, right? And the chicken, you can pick up the chicken and throw it, right? And I don't mean but you can't do it to a cat, right? Don't get confused. That's where it's going to confuse the children, right? You're going to go and do it to a cat, you can't eat a cat, right? That's a very nice idea, very nice. Ein Shaman, Simon, Tav Tzadi Hey, I think it was in Tav, and Tetzvav, Tetzayin, Ein Shaman, the Mishnah Berurah is over there. That's the chayah. That's one thing. Now again, my contract is not mechayiv me to talk about this, about what I'm about to talk about now, because it's really not our sigah so much. But I will, because I was asked just to clarify some things from what we said yesterday. So unless you want me to go weiter, what do you say? Should I clarify the things like grasping animals? And what do you think? It's a dictatorship, you're supposed to say. I should decide? I should decide. Yeah, okay, I think we should. So it's like this. So first of all, just again, I mean, No, there's a farm. The farm in Monticello. It's owned by a Heimischer, right? He's a Talmud of mine over there. What? No, what? Schechter, he has a farm also. Mati also, yeah, Mati has a farm. Yeah, all my Talmidim are farmers. It's great. Yeah, Mati has a farm. That's right. Okay, just got an advertisement. Tell him he's famous. So no, I'm saying it's Nagaya. And Borough Park doesn't have a farm or something. There's no farm in Borough Park. I'm saying, you never know. No, now it's just for sure it's Nagaya. People have all types of Zaka, right? So again, the Mishnah Berurah, I saw again, some of the things I told you, I mentioned, I'm just going to go a little bit more in order now. Mishnah Berurah Tzivkat in Kufnan Aleph. Mishnah Berurah Tzivkat in Kufnan Aleph. He says, Al Tsar Bali Chayim, you're allowed to grasp an animal. Remember that, okay? You're allowed to grasp an animal. You know, you can't pick up an animal, but you can grasp an animal. Okay, that's one thing. It said, like I said, the chicken, the Mishnah Berurah says you can't do, because if you're going to pick up a chicken, if you're going to grasp the chicken, he's going to jump into you and you're going to be holding the chicken, okay? What about klape tiltul in Rishus HaRabim and in the Carmelis? Okay, and we're discussing now muksa. What about pushing an animal in Rishus HaRabim? Not pushing, right? We'll get to pushing in a moment. What about, giving him like picking? Remember this thing? The Rabbi used to do this. He's to squeeze you by the over there, right? So that's what you're allowed. You should tell the Rabbi that's a Mishnah Berurah. Why are you doing it to me? Right? Not me. Why are you doing it to the other guy? Why is he going like this to you? That's Mishnah Berurah says that you're allowed to do. That's a movement of muksa. The Malkim Tsar Bali Chayim, Mishnah Berurah says you can do it. The Torah says you could do this even in a Carmelis. You can do it in a Carmelis. That's where it's a lot of times negay, right? You can do it in a Carmelis. You can give him, pick him up by his neck, and you're not because you're not carrying him, right? So the Torah says you can do it in a Carmelis, but not in Rishus HaRabim, because then we're afraid you're going to wind up carrying. The Mishnah Berurah over here, he says big animals you could do in a Carmelis, because then for sure you won't come to carry. Big animals, like what's an example? Like a hippopotamus or something, or a rhinoceros, like a diamond, right? So if you want to take a rhinoceros, if it's just an abin, that also you can't do, only in a Carmelis. Yeah, that's not so negay, but that's copying what we said. Yes, I ain't in the Chazanish. If anybody's negay, he has a rhinoceros. Chazanish has a shtickle kula of a rhinoceros, even a Rishus HaRabim, to pick him up like this, because it's not mistaber that you're going to come to carry him. It's not so mistaber. That's number one. Number two, Mishnah Berurah says here in Kufnan Beis, he says if you push a chicken. This is such an interesting thing in Muksa. That's why I like to go over it again. Mishnah Berurah says, if you're pushing something, it's just very interesting today. You got to do it to your chavrusa, right? If you're pushing something, if you push a chair, that's moving Muksa, right? If you push a chair in Rishus HaRabim, it's a mitzvah to kill you, right? But if you push a chicken, or any animal for that matter, you're not really moving Muksa, because he's moving on his own. It's that you're giving him chizik to go, right? So that's, again, tiltul b'mixus. So tiltul b'mixus is mutter b'makim tzar bali chayim. So if there's a case where the chicken is suffering and you want to push him, so then the Mishnah Berurah is mekel, the shartzin is mekel, even in Rishus HaRabim. Because when I'm going like this to a chicken, it's not a good thing to know, right? When I'm going like this to a chicken in Rishus HaRabim, so then I'm not moving him. He's moving himself. He's walking down. You take him, sling him against the dirt, right? So then, but you're not, it's considered him himself. That's as we explained yesterday by a yingle, right? Rabbi said, on Shabbos, you can't play 1, 2, 3 week, right? I'm not explaining that for the English. How do you explain that for the English? It's like the same? Okay, 1, 2, 3, right? So you can't play that on Shabbos, because the whole lumdis of 1, 2, 3 week is not going to be fun if the kid is still walking, right? The whole lumdis is now he's in the air. So that you can't play on Shabbos 1, 2, 3. But if you have a 1.5-year-old and he's walking, 1 foot like this, and he can't really do it without you, but it's him walking. He's walking. What does it mean? The Mishnah Berurah says he has 1 foot down. He has 1 foot down, and then he's leaning over to the other foot. Mishnah Berurah says that's not called carrying. I mean, you have to have seichel, because there comes a point of where he gets to Ocean Parkway and he says Dunsky. Dunsky in English means like Genikshan, the end. I'm not going. So if you have a kid like that, he's probably not going to make it very far, right? And then you get into Ramesh's too. Ramesh said if it's a Carmelis, and Ramesh doesn't think anything's a Carmelis, so we don't have big problems, right? Slappish isn't a Carmelis. Ocean Parkway is not a Carmelis. So here you are in the middle of Ocean Parkway, and there's the little guy. So it's true. It's Chaynoi maybe, because he can technically walk, but that's only one Darabana. And Ramesh said the only way he can be Mekel is if it's a Carmelis and a Chaynoi Seitzatma. Chaynoi Seitzatma means he's able to walk. So I have that, and I don't have a Carmelis. So 2 people is already Shnaim Shasu and whatever. I mean, in that case, you have to get a guy, right? It's okay. Once the kid sees this big, overgrown gorilla, he's going to be, he's going to be walking straight home. That's Baduk Manusa. Baduk Manusa. What? Why, for sure. Giraffe and why not? Yeah. Then he's moving on his own. He's moving on his own. What? Season what? Say again? No. Because we're only allowing this. That's very important. Rabbi said we're only allowing this for Malkim Tsar Balechayim. I'm sorry. This is not legal if it's not Tsar Balechayim. It's only legal because it's Tsar Balechayim. You're not allowed to stamp push him. Can't stamp push a chicken. Can't stamp do that. Check on the Abidvar. It's petting we spoke about in the beginning of this year. I don't think that's Tsar Balechayim for him to be without a petting. Also, we spoke about it again. All that. That's that. Now, okay, that's number 1. Number 2, the oilam. Yeah, I'm saying that's. There's another thing I realized yesterday during the share. I mentioned this. We spoke about it. Sorry, I can't go over. You made up all the shirim, right? The ones from you guys made up all the shirim that you missed, right? From Hotzah and everything. Yeah. Okay. So we spoke then. You guys remember that if the child is walking on the, the kids walk on those like fences. They walk on the fences, and so if the fence is 10 tefachim, and sometimes when it's 10 tefachim, that's even more fun. 10 tefachim is like it's like 3.5 feet. It's like 3 feet. It's not that much, right? So the kid is 3 feet. He's on one of these fences. It's 3 feet, and the higher they are, the more fun it is, right? And you know how it goes. Sometimes it's getting higher and higher in the kid's hand, and then you're holding the kid's hand like this, and it's getting higher and higher and higher, right? So now he gets to a point where he's like on the top of the Verrazano, right? And he wants you to like help him down. No, you know what I'm talking about, right? And you want him to help. You want to help me down. So now you're not allowed to take him down because that's usually Rishus HaYachid into Rishus Rabbi. You're allowed to stand there and let him, lean on you, and he's allowed to jump himself. And you're just being Masayeh, he can jump down himself, but you can't take off little Anshel. There's an Anshel on the top of the bridge, right? You can't take him down from the, you know what I'm talking, everyone knows what I'm talking about, on the fences, right? You know what I'm talking about? They have it over there on the Rishus HaYachid, because that's a Rishus HaYachid, he's on a fence. So you're taking him from Rishus HaYachid into Rishus Rabbi. We spoke about this at Baisai 293 Shurim ago. What's going on? What? Sorry? Okay, I'm saying in each case, I mean, it's not halacha. This is halacha. You want to know if he's gonna, jump in the Kallus the fascist, okay? But check over there, the Zionists. I see some movement over there, right? Or Zionists. No, it's not going on. No, we're good. But make sure he's on our team. He's on our team, right? He's a Jewish guy. Okay, good. I love Hasidim. I can find him. I love it. All right. Is I say. Now, I was asked yesterday during this year. This is what the other one. You want me to talk to these shadows? This is what everybody was asking. Yeah, I should just finish the shadows. No, I want to go weiter into the. What do you say? Should finish? Okay. So in Shin Hey, someone asked me yesterday about a leash. Right. So you have this dreadful hound, this dog on Shabbos, this dreadful hund, and now you have to take him for a walk. Right. You can't move him. You can't whatever. So now, but you're allowed to take him for a walk and go on a leash. Now, mitzad the leash, we said that won't be muksav if you're not pulling him and he's doing the pulling. Okay. In Rishus HaRabim, there's a Shulchan Aruch about a leash. So these we spoke about, but in Shulchan Aruch Tezayin, it says hamoitzi behema. You have like a goat or something like that. And you're pulling it with a leash. So there's all halachas. You can't. The leash can't be coming out of your hand at tefach. It has to be like this. You have to have the leash like this, and not only that, when the leash klape the floor, that's one thing. Otherwise, it looks like you're carrying. Don't leave too much space that it should. It's not like you're playing a jump rope over here. It shouldn't be touching the floor. There has to be a tefach of space that it shouldn't be on the floor. That the chevel shouldn't be touching the floor. So what do you do if there's too much rope? Tie it around Lassie's neck, right? So I don't know. The people that walk dogs, I don't know how careful they are with these I mean, like, okay, when there's no Rishus Rabbim, and there's an Erev, so technically you don't have that issue. But inevitably, those Chevra B'derek Klal, they touch the dog, they help the dog, they do things with the dog. It's inevitable that he's going to be over on Muksa. It's inevitable. That's the Chayra. That's the Chayra. But let's say, so Halach L'Maisa, two things. What happens if, so someone told me that dogs have beds. Do you know about this? That the dogs have beds, right? No, a dog house, even I heard of, right? But sometimes, don't start with me, right? So the dog has like a shayna kitchen, a nice bed. And that. Anyways, so someone told me a shayla like this. That the dog has a bed, right? But the bed was like mamish in the middle of the living room, and it looks like a dog bed. Maybe on day one it doesn't, but after a few days it looks like a dog bed. It's pasnish to have the dog bed in the middle of the living room, doesn't pass. So Chayri wanted to know, is that muksa? Oh, so if Fido went to sleep the whole entire Ben Hashmashis, which could be, right? He went to sleep. A lot of people sleep Erev Shabbos at that. The ladies go in the house, they're always sleeping when you come home, right? In the Kabbalah Shabbos. So the ladies are sleeping, the Kinderlach, and the Hund, I don't know what the dog does. So either he's playing or he's sleeping. It's one of the two. He's not that. So it's one of the two. So there's the dog, and he slept the whole Ben Hashmashis. So now the bed is muksa. It's one big shtick dog, and you can't move it. What? It depends. If it's a wrap, it's a wrap. Huh? But that's one big shtick dog. If not, so then we're going to learn. It's called the klishim lachta yeser. It's something that if it wasn't there, it's something that it houses a dog, and it's a klishim lachta yeser. Now you get involved. Klishim lachta yeser, sarich makayimai. You won't be able to move it for the dog because that's moving it for a davar muksa. But if I need this area or whatever, then it'll be a klishim lachta yeser, sarich makayimai. That's one very very negaya thing. Another thing is like this. Let's say. Somebody told me like this. Someone told me, I get all these Geshmaka farm animal shivers now, because people know that we're learning these sugars. Someone told me that he has he doesn't own a cat, but he has a cat that definitely feels that he owns it. So he was asking me a shayla mitzad shinchav dal, is he allowed to feed it? So I said, he's mamish soymech on you. We spoke out. Says, maybe if he's mamish soymech on you, you're allowed to feed him or whatever. He says, the problem is like this. He said, this cat is a bissel too heimish, panich. He's a little bit too heimish. What it means is sometimes he comes into the house, and he just he has like a backyard and it sits there. That's okay. But then sometimes he comes into the house. So that much he doesn't want to be heimish. He says one time he let the cat stay in the house and he went into the other room. And by the time he came back, he wreaked havoc. This cat, but it's not his fault. He doesn't mean bad. He's not trying to cause trouble. But a cat, he jumps onto the table and he does things. He goes onto the couch and boop, right? Who knows what could be, right? So loyal, right? That's how it goes, right? Wait. You got it. So he asked me if this feline comes into the house on Shabbos. He says he's so heimish. I love the shayla. He's so heimish. He said you can't just go like this and scare him away. He probably has like rabies or something. But he said you have to like mamish push him out of there and kick him out. Okay, so if you kick him with your foot, right? Because he said sometimes, and again, mamish is on the couch. He's very heimish, right? You have to take him, pick him up, and throw him out of there. So that's muksa and not, right? It's muksa b'makim hefsid. Muksa b'makim hefsid is we don't have a heter for that, right? We don't have a heter of muksa b'makim hefsid, right? So you have to. Mistama, you can do tiltum and atzad. Mistama, you can take him out with like a broom or a hockey stick or something, get him out of there, right? Mistama, because that's tiltum and atzad tzarich what? Start the makim, right? He's going to ruin the makim otherwise. He's going to cause trouble. But for sure, you can kick him out with your feet. That for sure you can be able to do. Is that crystal clear, everybody? Crystal clear. Crystal clear. Now, this we spoke about. This was very interesting. This is very interesting. I had a schluss today to talk to Moshe Sternbach on the phone about something. Very interesting. That's something else, not what we're talking about. And I was on the phone, so I asked him about Mishnah Berurah. It was something always bothered me, this Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah, I told you yesterday, Mishnah Berurah in Hilchos says an incredible Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah says that you can tell a guy, unbelievable Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah says you can tell a guy in a Carmelist to carry your child. Anybody who has the child going to a Shabbat Brachos on Friday night or something like that, right? So you want to push the baby or whatever. Mishnah Berurah says, if it's a Carmelist, okay, according to Rav Moshe, there's not so many Carmelists in the big cities, right? But in small cities there are, right? So he says, if you have a unbelievable Kiddush in Mishnah Berurah and Kufn and Dalet, he says, if you have a guy, the Rabbanan number 1, Carmelist, the Rabbanan number 2, you can tell the guy to carry the kid. Now, everybody asks the shites. Everybody showing halachas. Everybody asks for Mishnah Berurah to Pella. Mishnah Berurah to Pella. When in the world ever is there after of Shvus to Shvus, the muckim nothing. Mishnah Berurah just says it's mutter. Right? So I admit I don't really know what the pshat in this Mishnah Berurah is. Right? But I do know that, if it's a big tzarech like a shepherd brachas or something, there's definitely a muckim to be makel that the guy should push the stroller and things like that. If it's a Carmelist, these things you have to find out what's done haga makubal in the shtetloch that you live in and whatever. Okay, whatever. Look, not my point right now. Not my point. But I asked him what you started about like this. I asked him what's pshat in this Mishnah Berurah. So he told me maybe the Mishnah Berurah is talking about that the child is a chay noisei atzma. Right? I was asking him something else. Maybe the kid is 1 year old or 2 years old or something like that. So then it's 3 drabanas. Okay, the Mishnah Berurah doesn't sound like that. Because then it's Rabbanan number 1 is chay noisei atzma. Number 2 Carmelist. Number 3 is a guy. I asked him where do we find that to do a triple Rabbanan is also aser. So he said, Mishnah Berurah is a little bit schwer, but maybe that's pshat in the Mishnah Berurah. So I said, okay. So then the that I said, you don't even have to blink twice. I said, Ramesh is true, right? You don't have to blink twice when the kid is in the middle of a Carmelist, and he says, I'm stopping, right? Because it's a Carmelist. Now there, Mishnah Berurah is talking about a guy, right? But if I say right in a Carmelist and a chay noisei it's atzmai, no, I Yisrael, and it's a tzarech shein kamayir. The kid stopped in the middle of the street and whatever. So I said, then you'd be making like Ramesh also. So he said like this, it's such an interesting chiddush. He said to me, that's not called chay noisei it's atzmai. I said, what does it mean? So he said, depends. If the kid is just he lets you pick him up, it's one thing. He says a lot of times, a lot of times, but I never heard this before. Right? Yeah, he says a lot of times he's fighting. He said if a kid is fighting, he's not called the chay noisei it's atzmai anymore. Because just like when the poskim discuss a person that's tied up and they discuss a chaylei's limb and they discuss even a sleeping person who's all shy, they might not have a din of a chay noisei it's atzmai. He said by me it's pashit, right? He said by him it's pashit that a child that's fighting you can't say of them chay noisei it's atzmai. Is that interesting? I never heard it before, but sounds right, no? Interesting thing. So you have to know, and sometimes the kid is he's limp, you know what I mean? Like dafkin, right? Nicht meine Kinder, deine Kinder. It's like a dafkin kaza, it's like this, right? I asked him, what about that? I know it's not smart when he just making something. He didn't understand what I was saying, and then the conversation happened. But I think also it'll be the same thing, the kid's like this, and he doesn't want to come. Doesn't want to come. Interesting, no? But it's the same thing with the chayla, and the same thing because he's limp. Limp doesn't have that same kanira that mitzias. That's why he's lighter. I don't know. That's some type of mitzias. I don't know. To me, it was a big chiddush, very big chiddush. So like this. Also, I mentioned yesterday. I want to clarify, or 2 days ago. See, things on the Zoom don't always come out clear. I mentioned the other day about balls in general. A soccer ball is probably a klisha mat b'yesser. Because soccer ball is played on grass, even if you don't play on grass, but it's a normal thing to play on grass, and it's a normal thing that you have to smooth out the ground. So the poskim will say that even if you're an Ashkenazi, but a soccer ball will be a klisha mat b'yesser. A basketball is just not Shabbos-dik, but there's no isser in essence to play basket, except like we saw that Torah Shimon was destroyed, and it's not the Shabbos-dik thing, right? But it's at least for an Ashkenazi, a basketball is not muksa. Because the basketball, the derech is not to play in a place that you have to smooth out the ground, right? That's not the norm. Sorry? So by you, it's miyuchid for that, then maybe, right? Like a dodgeball or that, right? Maybe it's the silgan, yeah? What? Sorry? You mean you want to now take the soccer ball and actually play with it to play catch with it. So that'll be a klisha mat b'yesser, but tzarech kufa. Okay, I'm saying Torah Shimon was destroyed. You mean with a kid or something like that. You want to play with a kid or something. A kid that you don't want to teach him the value of Shabbos yet. He's he's like 2, right? So he's not going to come anyway. So you want to roll to him the soccer ball. Yeah, I can hear that. It's a klisha mat b'yesser. It's a kufa makoymai or something like that. Yeah, no, it's a lot of times the gates are makoymai. The ball people could trip on, and it's, it could be dangerous. It's not so spiritual. It's not spiritual. It's not such a spirit of Shabbos. It's not kishka. Das ist nicht Kirche. Was? Your Schwigger plays basketball. This is Schwigger? I'm saying you don't mean a Schwigger. You mean like the same way I say Heterim by Schwiggerlach. I mean, just tell them, all you have to do, why do you have to be Meicha? Just tell them that there's a Medrash Rabbah that's brought down in the Beis Yosef that says that there was a city called Tor Shimon, Har Shimon. Tor means Har in the Lashon Sham. And it was a big, unbelievable city. And it was destroyed. There was millions of people and because they played ball on Shabbos. So we asked the guy, what is he? Maybe. So what do you mean? You mean the people that aren't normal type of people or regular people? No, I'm saying you mean the people like special people. They're not no, then what are you going to stop them for? They're not, you mean like regular normal people, the regular normal firm person playing basketball on Shabbos? How can that be? Isn't he afraid of Tor Shimon? Yes, of course you should tell him Tor Shimon. What? When mechanic the kids to be from? Somebody else's kids. It's not what? Why don't you give them like a pirche? And they'll give out those like, remember they used to give out those like those long toffee things, they roll around and around. Give them that. They'll come and learn Torah and tell them stories about tzaddikim and gedolim. Huh? I don't like it so much. You can't on Shabbos. Shabbos is given for Torah. Shabbos is given for whatever stories of gedolim or tzaddikim or something like that. Shabbos is not to be playing basketball. It's not a normal chinuch to do. It's totally abnormal. What? Why's what not a good fight? That's totally in the Ashkenazim and the Sephardim. That's an old fight. The Ashkenazim mold, you could be miyachid for a shtos, so that's called the kli. And the Sephardim mold nishtazeh, what? Kuf. He's going in the sheet of Shulchan Aruch. Kufnan Zayin? Kufnan Chet. Yesh Matir. And Efshe Time and Shegem Tazal Kach. And Yuchel Kach. No, he's explaining Efshe Time. But the father, we're the Ashkenazim. We're the Ramah. Of course we pass it. After this is the Pshat and them. No, he's just saying he doesn't say the first what their time is. So maybe this is the time because the price didn't say it. What? A basketball that what? If you're playing basketball for a four, it's still an in the club. I'm saying, if it, no, it's still it's a zilzul. It's a zilzul to be playing basketball on Shabbos. It's not Shabbos. It's not fair playing basketball. Yeah, if you're a 7-year-old girl, then it's okay if you want to do jump rope on Shabbos, right? What? The difference is that there are, chess and basketball. The pshat is that basketball there's a certain surah to it. There's a certain chol to it. There's a reason why the Yerushalmi says that it was destroyed. They probably had chess then also, right? What? Okay, I'm saying lefi that mahal. We Ashkenazim have to be taking on pshat is mitzad the zilzul. Again, there's a Yerushalmi that says that the place was destroyed because they played ball. Okay, wait 1 moment. That's what it says in Yerushalmi. The place was destroyed because they played ball. Now, there's 2 ways to learn what's pshat in this Yerushalmi. One way to learn it is because it was muksa. That's how the Sephardim learn it. So then it's a miyuchadik thing of ball, and then it doesn't help to even make a ball like we spoke out. And even if you manufacture a ball, it doesn't work because this chepza being miyached for a shtos is the muksa and whatever. Okay, we the Ashkenazim, how are we going to learn that? Because we'd say you could be miyached for a shtos, so we have to learn. But it doesn't sound like that. The place they don't say it. Yerushalmi says it's destroyed because of ball. The other mahalach and the mefarshim is because of zilzul. Doesn't sound like that. Doesn't sound like it was because you're saying a third malach. Maybe because of mashal. No, but that's I'm saying the pasha says because it's the zilzul. What? Come on, the balabatishkeit is obviously different. There's a whole surah when a guy plays a game of basketball that he looks like chaldik. It's a whole, it's just there's no shaykhs. It's just the schwitzing, the matzah, the this, that. I don't understand. You guys all grew up. Your parents said you can't play ball on Shabbos, right? It's not basketball in the backyard. Yeah. Well. This is before Sandy knocked out Seagate, right? Okay. Verstehst? I'm even Yavin. Yeah. Okay. Maybe he gave up. Of course, trouble over here. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. If you my clock, it says that 52 minutes have gone by. I don't know how this happened. We didn't learn 1 word. No, 54 minutes. But we have to start. I'll say one sif, but the oilam should, if you want to finish the sifim quickly, finish the sifim with Mishabur quickly. I'm just going to tell you the negaya zachin that come out of sifim. So that's what we're up to now. Mem Aleph, here, just where we got to. Lamites is talking about the farm animals. And that's Mem also, about pushing them. Mem Aleph talks about children. That's what we just spoke out. Mem Aleph is all about the Chaynois Atzmai. Mem Beis, we learned already. That was about touching muksa. We learned that way back when. And Mem Gimel is talking about blowing muksa. We said that you're allowed to blow muksa. And then Mem Daled, Mem Hey, that's what we're up to. Mem Hey was about balls, but that's what we spoke about. And then Mem Vav. Now from Mem Vav to the end is very just, some of the things we spoke out, some of them we didn't speak out. Let me say at least with Mem Vav, and then tomorrow we'll finish them in Yet Hashem. We'll go to Basis in Yet Hashem. Mem Vav is a very interesting halacha. Very interesting halacha. Then we'll end with this. It's an interesting halacha. Shulchan Aruch says like this. It says, Asr Aseis, you're not allowed to carry under your arm Zera HaTalayim, like silkworms. Silkworms. HaTalayim She'oisin HaMeshi, they make silk, right? That's how they make ties and everything. The guy walks around, it's a French fellow, he walks around with all these things under his arm, right? But how do you think all these people, these Pergaminis and these they walk around underneath their thing, an armpit like this, and then it makes silk, and then boom, there's a tie. That's how it goes. So you're not allowed to do this on Shabbos. You're not allowed to do this on Shabbos. Why? Because it's Asr B'tilto, the Oid Mishum Shuhu Moilid Chayim. It makes heat. It makes heat. What is this thing? What is this thing? What is this? Does anybody know what this is? First of all, does anybody ever see this? There's like a silkworm under the armpit and whatever. But what does it do with the hood over there, the hair and all that? It's probably not pretty, but anyways, that's what it says here. No, that's a Pelvic might for this thing. Okay. But there's two reasons it's usher. One is muksa. Who has a kasha? What's the kasha? You're holding it under your arm and it's muksa. What's the answer? What's the kasha? What? It's klachayad. It's klachayad, right? It's a very not normal way of carrying things. So what are you going to answer me? I say that's the normal way, right? So first of all, this is a big chiddush. I want you to know. First of all, we're going to come back to this. We didn't learn yet officially the Sugya Klach Hayat, right? But you all just said a very big chiddush. That means that where is all my friends over here about that? Let's say you're a Sfardi and you hold that a soccer ball is evil muksa. Evil muksa. You can't move it, not to goof makoyim. Okay. So now it's in the way over there. And a soccer ball in the way is something people are going to trip on. So what's your first reaction? Kick it. Let's see this. It's very halacha. You're not allowed to kick it, right? Because that's a normal way. Right? It's a first halacha. You won't be allowed to kick the ball, right? What else do we have like that? A lot of things like that, right? Let's say you hold that thing on the garbage can as muksa. We'll talk about this, but let's say you hold that. I remember we mentioned that maybe the garbage is a buses to the bag is the pails are buses to the garbage, and now the lid. Shabbos, I think, wanted to say that it was a muksa. He wanted to say that it was muksa. The lid is servicing the item. So now, if you want to press the button, the little gadget over there to pick up the lid, so that's the normal way. That means there's a new thing you have to know. You can't move muksa kila'achar yad if that's the normal way of moving the muksa. Now, I want you to know, I'm not convinced. This is an unbelievable chiddush because there's a few weird chevra. How many people are carrying this silkworm under his arm? Because there's a few weird guys that do this, that becomes a derech normal. Stop. The whole thing is unbelievable. Bishlama, one moment. Bishlama kicking a ball, I could hear more. That I could hear more, right? But to take something and hold it under your arm, that's so normal. It's normal. There's probably 20 guys that do it. What? And they're enough to be conveyor for a society? Okay, listen, that's what it says here. I'm not going to cause too much trouble. We're going to have to come back to this. I guess if you carried it, which is a rabbin like that, you chayv misa. It's not klach hayat, right? That's the normal way to carry it. We'll come back. Sorry? So wait, then there's another issue here. Rabbi said the next issue here is the basis for the Peldik and Maisa. If I ask you, where does it say in the Shas Paiskim that there's an issue of electricity on Shabbos? Where's there an issue on Shabbos to make electricity and whatever, right? One of the biggest shilas in all the halacha, right? So this one said patish, and the Chazanish said boinen, and Rosh Hashanah said noilad, and whatever. Rosh Hashanah, one of his big makayos, is a little sneaky Shulchan Aruch, snuck away that nobody even knows, and they skip it because once you got this far in Shin Ches, they're already, on to Shin Tes, right? Where's it? Mishnah Shulchan Aruch, Shin Ches. He says, well, says Rishleim Zalman, I think it's a Rishleim. Well, if taking a silk, a wormy, and putting it in there and causing heat to create silk, what is that Isser? It's like some type of a chemical reaction or something. It's an Isser on Shabbos to create things, chemical reactions. Where's the Makor? Shin Zayin, Simchat and Memvav. Our Shulchan Aruch. Shevet HaLevi says the same thing in the third volume in the 97th Tshuva. He says over here, you see a very interesting thing, like making chashma, electricity, electrical reactions, and whatever, all these things are awesome. Where's the Makor by us? Unbelievable thing, no? Unbelievable thing. So fine. So we got started. And Hashem. So you guys go weiter. Don't worry about me. If you want to learn the Mishabura till the end of the Siman with the Mishabura, learn it quickly. They've been bevakesh not to dray around outside because